question. Definitely did not.
Before we start, let me just introduce Chris to you. He's a former NFL fullback who's played for the for the Cowboys, Colts, Broncos, and Chargers. And I think he's proven that expertise extends beyond athletics. He's become a successful entrepreneur, founding EssentiallySports, a company that offers your protein drinks cold for over 30 hours. Chris's business acumen and dedication to his craft have not gone unnoticed as he landed a deal with Mark Cuban and Alex Rodriguez after appearing on Shark Tank. Essentially Sports welcomes Chris, a true embodiment of passion and drive. Okay, I think I can jump right into it. And can you tell us about your background? How did you decide to quit the NFL and switch to entrepreneurship?
Yeah, that's a good question. Definitely did not quit the NFL. Unfortunately, most
Injuries.
people say the NFL stands for not for long, which is pretty accurate. So ended up getting 4 credited seasons. For me, it was great. The average is less than 3. Ended up getting pension, retirement benefits, and I ended up getting hurt in camp. I got released with an injury settlement. I tried to come back, ruptured my hamstring at a tryout, and it was time to move on at that point. There's really no one knocking on my door trying to sign me. So stepped away from the game, went into business with my wife first. She'd actually started a business in my 3rd year, 3 seasons, 3 different teams, 3
Correct.
cities. She wanted to find a way to work from home so she didn't have to go to a job interview every year in a new city. And that led to an online shop that really did well. Started on Etsy, built out a website, and pretty soon we were making more money doing that than I was in the NFL. So great transition for me, something that I never thought I would be doing. I was doing for about 5 years, and at that point realized it wasn't truly my passion. I love sports, I love fitness, I grew up in it, played sports my whole life, and one day I was at the gym. I had a plastic shaker bottle with me. It was warm out. I took a sip of it. It tasted awful. It smelled terrible. At that point, I was like, man, there's got to be something better out there, and there just wasn't. So that was the point where the aha moment where I was like, I'm going to make the best bottle that I can, not just for the gym, but really all day use for everything.
So, iShaker is something that you thought of by yourself. Like it was like, you had that moment in the gym.
That was it. Yeah, 2016. It was summer in Dallas, over 100 degrees out that day, and the idea hit me. There's other insulated bottles on the market, but when I tried to bring them to the gym, I'd have to like put my finger over and try to shake it. There was nothing to blend it up. So at that point, we were the first insulated shaker bottle to hit the market.
Nevertheless, so yeah, you come from a family of athletes entirely, from your great grandfather to your father and your 4 brothers. So, what did it feel like to actually shift to business from something that you pursued for so long back in college and then even later?
So definitely a tough transition when you go from something that is truly your identity to not really being able to identify as an athlete anymore. So mentally, definitely a challenge. A lot of guys struggle with it. For me, the transition wasn't as bad because I physically couldn't play the game anymore. I had to walk away from injury, and also just because I kept myself so busy. There was still purpose there. I had to wake up every single day. I was grinding. I was working 100 plus hours a week. So the transition was a little bit easier for me. I did have somewhat of a business background from going to school, getting my degree, but also watching my dad grow his own business. He started over 30 years ago, started a fitness equipment company. I used to go to the warehouse and deliver the equipment for him, install it, watch him grow it from 1 store to over 15 stores. So definitely was inspired by my dad as well, and had him as a great resource as well when I started my own business.
Like is very visible in your Shark Tank appearance. Your brothers have been a constant source of support for you. So could you tell me a little bit more about that?
Yeah, for sure. So, since day one, they've been there to really help support the brand and get the name out there as well. Even though, they're not necessarily a part of it. Rob came in later on and did become a part owner of the company, but from day one, they weren't. So yeah, it's been fun, man. We've always done everything together as a family. we do have the fitness brand, so we work off of each other, and we help each other out as much as we can. We do cross paths a lot with different customers and different opportunities. So whenever we can help each other out, we do.
So, going back to your Shark Tank appearance and the minute A-Rod and Mark Cuban said that, they're willing to take your counter offer and buy a 15% equity in your firm. What was it like? What were you feeling?
Man, that was a cool moment. I mean, it really was Mr. Wonderful who came out with the first offer, which was shocking. He always waits to the end and kind of lowballs you.
Yeah.
So to get the first offer was like, man, yes, this is legit. Kind of confirms, all those thoughts that you had about the product. It's yours, so obviously you love it, but you're super biased towards it. So to see the Sharks actually start to come in on it was a great feeling. And then to have Mark and Alex actually invest into the company just was next level, man. That's exactly what I was looking for, and we walked away with exactly what we wanted. So huge accomplishment, and it was kind of just right at the beginning too. 6 months into the company, so just verified that we actually have something here that people do want, and it could be a really massive opportunity to grow this company.
And for someone like A-Rod, who was an athlete himself, he completely resonated with what your vision of the company was. So that must have definitely added some sort of motivation for you.
Yeah, for sure. He got it right away. He had a plastic shaker bottle. I think he was
Yeah.
traveling with at the time. So he jumped on board right away, understood where I was coming from as an athlete, and was in to offer almost right away. So definitely a good feeling to see a former player as well jump on.
So in 2018, after Shark Tank, after A-Rod and Mark entered your company, the sales apparently went up by 3 million, which was a wow moment. And so how much of credit for that do you give to your appearance on Shark Tank and maybe A-Rod and Mark?
Yeah, I mean, first 6 months we did about 80K. So to do 3 million over the next 12 months is obviously a massive boost. So yeah, I mean, it's a majority of it's coming from the show. You're able to get in front of 5 million plus people, within a 1 hour show, and you're able to get offers from all 5 Sharks, which just legitifies a brand. It shows that proof of concept. It tells everyone that's watching the show that this product's legit, and you should probably buy it too. So invaluable. It probably would have took us years to get to that point, and we got to that point, pretty much overnight from being on Shark Tank.
Which MLB teams today are using your product? Which teams, in fact, in the major leagues across the country are using your product?
So major league wise, we've had some teams come in and buy products for their entire team. Some of them, like the Bruins, the Green Bay Packers, came in and bought for the whole team 1 year. The Patriots had it in their locker room. So it's been cool to see. We do have licensing now as well. But for the most part, the guys are using whatever standard issue in the locker room. So some sports too, like you're not going to use an insulated bottle. So football, you're going to use a squeeze bottle. You got your helmet on. You're trying to drink water as fast as you can. Same with hockey. You're not necessarily ever going to use an insulated bottle because it's already cold on the ice. So you're kind of just using the squeeze bottles in certain sports. So what we see is a lot of times the teams are buying them as gifts. We did just have the White Sox buy for their entire organization and for their entire team. So really cool to see. I don't know if those guys will necessarily be using it in the dugout, but they do have them. They will use them, on their own personal use in their cars, around town, stuff like that. So really cool to know that organizations like the product enough to buy it, not just for their players, but for their staff as well.
As a gift, yeah. Oh, I mean, A-Rod is a massive, massive businessman. The way he's transformed his journey from being an athlete to coming to the world of business. So how is it like working with him and have him grow the entire company?
Yeah, so with Alex, I think we were his first actual product. At that time, it seemed like he was more into services like gyms, real estate, stuff like that as well. So I think it was a little bit of a transition for him. He did a great job of promoting the product, really get the name out there, and did our 1 year update with him as well. About year 2 though, Rob retired from the NFL and really wanted to be a part of the business, and ended up buying Alex's shares. So at that
Sure.
point, Rob, wanted to explore the business world. Thought he was going to be retired forever, and decided then just a couple months later to unretire. So it was a really still a cool transition. Rob's done a ton for the company. It's awesome working with family, and he's been able to put it on platforms that no one else could. So uh, it's brought a ton of value to it, and it's been great having first Alex and then Rob on board at this point.
Yeah, okay. So you were asked to change the name, or rather, you were given a suggestion to change the name from iShaker to GronkShaker, and you seemed quite against it. So, what are your thoughts on that? Years down the line, when your company is really doing well.
Yeah, so it was actually a question that I was shocked by. I prepared for every question that I thought would come. That was probably the only question I didn't prepare for. So I was a little thrown off. To me, I've watched the Sharks over and over, say that you don't want to niche down too much. You don't want to take away a certain segment of the audience. And by calling it the Gronk Shaker, I mean, that's truly what you're doing. You're providing it to a fan base that loves the New England Patriots or loves the NFL in general. And, the NFL does have a great audience, but the majority of people don't watch the NFL. So I realized that, especially a New York Jets fan or a Miami Dolphins fan or a Bills fan would most likely not buy the product, even if they liked it, just because of the name of the product. So I thought it would
Yeah,
significantly hurt
true.
the brand overall, and was shocked that the Sharks didn't see it that same way. So definitely threw me off. I thought there was a very easy solution to that, which was coming out with a custom limited edition Rock Shaker,
Yeah.
which we did. We'll double down on it. We have a really cool design we're going to come out with a little bit later this year, and then at some point soon we'll probably do a Hall of Fame one as well. So uh, definitely a lot of options there, but I don't think the best option would have been to change the name of the entire company.
Change the name. You already mentioned this, but I was just hoping to get a little more of a deep dive into it. So, Arod also mentioned in a podcast with Rob that he's like the sixth brother, or rather, he felt like the sixth brother in your family, and which is another reason why he sort of didn't take when selling back the 15% to Rob. He did not sort of take it to market, and he had like a family and friends deal. So, I mean, what are your thoughts on that, and what did you think of it?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it was super early on. It was a great investment for him, so he did make a great return on it. Awesome thing with Alex was that he did see the value in family. He's all about family and family values. So uh, that was a big part of him allowing Rob to buy the shares. At that point, there's still a ton of growth potential left in the company. So he wasn't trying to sell it for the most part. He did get a great return on it, but I realized that Rob really wanted to dig his feet in. He really wanted to be a part of it. So he allowed him to get into the business at a pretty fair evaluation at that time.
Oh, talking about Rob, how's been like you've already mentioned that you've been very close to your brothers, but how's your relationship with Rob in particular?
It's been good. He is kind of the ultimate promoter. So every opportunity he gets to get the product in front of large audiences, he does a great job with it. Great examples are going on the New Heights podcast with the Kelsey brothers right before the Super Bowl and talking about the product. That's just invaluable exposure to the brand. You can't get that from anywhere else. So, going on to Jimmy Fallon and kicking the bottle into the audience is another great example of just content that you're not going to see or get from anybody else. So, working with him, he's not in the day to day. He's a silent investor for the most part, but then brings a ton of value and exposure and social media value as well. So it's been awesome. He's able to create moments that are just gonna go viral no matter what, just because they're so unique and different from anything else that people are doing.
Yeah, and I mean, you mentioned the Super Bowl and Rob, and slightly before the Super Bowl was a massive announcement of Brady's retirement, and Rob and Tom Brady were teammates for the longest time. So, I mean, do you have anything particular to share about their relationship, and do you have any interactions with Tom Brady?
Oh, that's kind of like the running joke. I actually never met Tom up until
Oh,
about 2 months ago. It was the first time I met Tom. So uh, yeah, outside of football, it is hard to get get Tom anywhere. So I only really seen him in the locker room. I was the only brother out of the brothers that played football that didn't play with New England. So
hmm.
uh, yeah, so the relationship itself, I mean, it's two guys that have played together for so long, have a great chemistry together. Uh, and they did hang out. It wasn't like they were hanging out every day or anything like that because they're both such high profile. So
Hmm.
uh, yeah, man, great friends. I think they always will be. But yeah, I don't know the ins and out of it because I personally never met Tom until about 2 months ago.
Coming back to your entrepreneurship, and if I would have to ask you to sort of, in fact, actually, wait, I just remembered, Arod and Brady are quite good friends. Would you happen to know anything about their relation or anything along those lines?
No, I did not know that. You said A-Rod and Tom Brady?
Yeah.
Uh, no, I mean, I like I said, I never met Tom until about 2 months ago, so
Ah,
I
okay.
couldn't tell you much about their relationship.
Okay, coming back to your eye shaker. So, I mean, what advice would you have to give to entrepreneurs who are starting out now?
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of advice. I made a lot of mistakes. Number one piece of advice I always tell people is, first start small. Uh, especially if it's your first venture. I mean, if you've been doing it for a while, it's one thing, but this is your first rodeo. Start small. The first business my wife started, I think we started with $500 on our kitchen table. With Ice Shaker, still, a small investment. It was significantly more than our first business because I could afford it at that time. But we were running it out of the upstairs of my house for that first 6 months. No warehouse, no employees. Uh, just as a side hustle. I tell people all the time, find what you're super passionate about. Find a way to start it as a side hustle, and then once it gets to a point where you can actually support your family and support your lifestyle, then go all in at that point. At that point, you proved it to be successful. At that point, go all in on it and just keep driving it home. So start small, be passionate about what you're doing, and make sure it's going to be successful first before you go all in. Are my, really my three main starting tips.
What are your plans for eye shaker as time goes ahead?
Yeah, I mean, for us, we just continue to grow every year. We're always coming out with new products. We're doing new partnerships, which is something really cool. We've been really digging into this year. So we'll continue to grow. I don't even think we've came close to saturating the market with our current products. Just the shaker bottle alone, has so much more growth potential. So we'll continue to kind of just keep grinding it out. Every year you figure out new things, you make new relationships, you get bigger and bigger, you get better at what you're doing. And we're in year 6 now, so we're pretty good at what we do now, but there's still so much more that we can accomplish.
And yeah, that's pretty much it from my end.
Awesome.
If there's anything you want to particularly bring up.
No, that was awesome.
Okay, that's about it.